What's going on, y'all? Machiavelli Mills TV. So look, y'all, I was sitting here the other day and I was watching Boyz in the Hood for the whatever amount of time, right? I done watched Boyz in the Hood a lot, right? But I hadn't seen it in a while. And I'm watching the movie and I'm thinking about, really, man, outside of the killing that takes place at the end of the movie, and he only did it to avenge his brother, right? Doughboy was the realest character in the movie. Realest character by far. Okay, outside of Furious Styles, you know, raising Trey up to be an upright black man and have sense, to have guidance and not be reckless, wild in the street like the other boys in LA. Doughboy, man, he was the realest dude in the movie. Got treated so wrong by his mama. His mama made him the black cat, the black sheep. She tried to drive a wedge between Ricky and Darren, aka Doughboy, because she loved Darren Daddy. I mean, she loved Ricky Daddy better. She liked him better. And Ricky had all the promise, right? She tried to, you know, act like Doughboy was just a certified villain all the way around, which would drive a wedge between them possibly. And with him knowing what his mama was doing, pitting them against each other at times, he still loved his brother. Loved his brother unconditionally, right? He knew his brother was the golden goose, the golden child. And he got a lot of mistreatment due to, you know, his mama and all that, and how she just loved on Ricky all the time, right? Despite all of that, he was always there for his brother. At the when they posted up and he eating the chips and dude come by and bump him, Doughboy stood up for Ricky. Stood up for Trey too. All the time, ready to go to war behind them boys. All the time. And I'm not saying violence is okay. I'm not saying that gun violence is okay or threats or none of that. But he made sure them boys was okay and they was protected. He never let his mother's terrible parenting, he never let that have a disdain for his brother. You know, even when they had to fight the scuffle right before Ricky got shot. They had the scuffle outside, they was fighting, and the mama just went on and blamed Doughboy for everything, slapping him up and all of that, right? And Ricky walked off. He was the first one to consent that Ricky and Trey was in trouble. He the first one on go mode. First one hopping in the car, getting everybody together, rounding the troops to go get his brother. And not only his brother, but his brother's best friend, his homie. Making sure they was cool, right? And again, man, I've heard this said before on YouTube. The underrated moment in the movie is when Trey is riding with Doughboy in the car. And they riding to go get revenge because Ricky didn't get killed. And at some point, you know, Trey was just riled up. He was emotional. He was upset. And he let his emotions and his anger get the best of him to think that he can go out and go partake in a murder. Right? He get in the car with Doughboy. And at one point he said, "Dough, let me out. Let me out. Let me out." Doughboy ain't go back and forth with him. He ain't call him no hoe. He ain't call him no punk. He ain't call him no lame, no square, none of that. He pulled the car over and let his homie out and kept going, right? He ain't trying to put up no fight, trying to belittle him, none of that, because he knew his homie shouldn't have been in the car in the first place, and he said it the next day when they linked up, right? But honestly, man, I'm wondering, because some people think this. I've heard this theory being put out there. Like, they like, Doughboy found them boys not too long after he let Trey out. You think he was just riding around long enough for Trey to realize, hey, I shouldn't be here. I need to get up out of here. You know what I mean? You think he was riding around long enough to try to just taking all these little detours away from where the dudes could possibly be to give Trey enough time to realize that wasn't what he should be out there doing. That wasn't for him, and he wasn't that type of guy. Because it's possible Doughboy, like, I'm going to ride around for a minute. And if Trey would have stayed in the car, he might have acted like he couldn't find the guys, right? But he let Trey out, let Trey make his decision, let him go on about his business, and he went on and go do what he did on his own time because he knew his homie wasn't cut for that. And then the very next day, Doughboy ended up, you know, unaliving the guys, right? He go right to Trey's house and kick it with Trey and hang with his boy and talk to him, right? Talk to him. He ain't get mad. Oh, you scared. You ain't gonna ride out on Ricky. You ain't gonna ride out for Ricky. You ain't Ricky real friend. He ain't do none of that shit. He came out and told his homie, man, listen, man, it's crazy out here. You know, he let his boy know he was still his boy. And he was hurting. He was hurting because his boy gone. His mama is thinking the dirt of him. His mama think of him like he ain't shit. he's less than dirt, lower than the ground itself. And he like, yo, I don't know what's going on. You know, this is just all crazy out here. I lost my brother, whatever. And then Trey say, no, man, you still got a brother left. That moment right there so powerful in that movie, the way they embrace each other. And the way Trey, like, he ain't let Doughboy walk off without saying, man, you still got a brother here. I know what you did. I know what happened. And I know we live in two different lives, right? But I know you got to know I still love you, you know? And that was real, man. Boyz in the Hood is a dope movie. And I love Menace. Menace Society is one of my favorite movies. But the real lessons, I feel like, and it was lessons in the street of just like consequences and repercussions for your actions in Menace to Society. For sure, right? That was a life lesson. It's consequences, repercussions to your actions. And you don't change your ways, negative can come back onto you. And you can bring harm potentially to people that have nothing to do with anything from your reckless behavior, which we saw happen to Sharif in the movie, right? But I feel like the bigger life lessons was in Boyz in the Hood. The importance of having a father, black men having a father that has steered them off of negativity, friendship, and how friends can help uplift each other and keep them away from BS. You know, and having a mind, teaching black men not to think, not to act on impulse, having a mind for yourself, because Trey had his own mind, even though, you know, he felt the pressures of sex and all that, right? And you saw police brutality, all of those things that the good brother John Singleton, fellow Newman brother Kappa Alpha Psi, right? He depicted at what, 26 years old when he did Boyz in the Hood? He depicted it so well, so beautifully. But yeah, man, Doughboy was, I'm telling you, he the MVP of the movie for real. Outside of Furious Styles. Furious was feeling himself at times too. He came to talking to the mama and shit at times too. But you know, yeah, man, I feel like Doe was really he really was the MVP. He was the realest dude in there. He made sure his friends was protected and safe from all the bullshit that he was in, all the stuff he was into. He respected that Trey was his own individual. He didn't try to, like, you know, he knew his daddy was not playing with him. He didn't try to, like, peer pressure him into just doing all type of wild, crazy shit. He was not trying to make him be a vile individual like him. And he let his homie the space, and his brother, the space to be them. He was just a protector. He was just the one that aided them and assist them when they saw trouble out in the streets, which is what they ran into. And yeah, man, I feel like that movie is a monumental movie. But the Doughboy character, I don't think he get enough love, man. We all talk about Furious Styles and Trey and how, you know, Nia Long and the love interest and how they both went to college and all of that. But Doughboy, man, it reminds me of my relationship with my boy that y'all seen on camera before he left Chicago and went to South Carolina. He was a wild boy. Now, he wasn't killing nobody or nothing like that, right? But he was gang banging. You know, he didn't been around a lot of guns. He was knocking dudes out, whooping them, partaking in a lot of street crazy stuff, got expelled from school with a big gang fight type stuff. He was selling, you know, selling weed, all that type of stuff. He was, you know, selling weed and selling it pretty often. All that type. He was getting into a lot of crazy stuff. And he never brought that around me. He knew and respected who I was as a young man. He knew my parents wasn't about none of that bullshit. His mama wasn't either, but he knew I was really sticking to what my parents instilled in me, the principles and morals and values they instilled in me. And he respected that. And he let me rock out and be me. And I never got no flack for not being like him. He never made me feel like I was less than for still being a virgin at the time that I was a virgin. And he lost his virginity at 12 years old. I didn't lose mine until I was 17, right? You know, he never made me feel like a square because I ain't want to drink. I ain't want to gang bang. None of that, man. That was my homie, and he kept me protected from the bullshit that was going on in the neighborhoods and stuff, you know? And even when I got jumped on at 14 years old by 4 dudes, he came out there that weekend just to make sure he could be out, because he was always a bigger dude, bigger than me, taller than me, all of that, right? Came out there to just make sure, you know, it wasn't no static out there. That, you know, dudes wasn't out there fucking with me while I'm out here trying to go to the corner store, all of that. And it was the inevitable because I'm living amongst these people. So, hey, he ain't gonna be there. He wasn't gonna be there all the time, but he just wanted to make sure I ain't running to the guys again while I was by myself, while I was still, you know, still trying to like cope with what happened. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, Doughboy MVP of Boyz in the Hood for sure. Machiavelli Mills TV, I'm out. Peace.